Outdoor concerts in the Tri-States this weekend. Even an annual festival that's been compared to Kid Coachella happened in Carthage, Illinois today. Hundreds came out to the family-friendly festival at Lake Linda, known as Bobbofest. It's organized by family members of Robbie White, who died from aplastic anemia. They say the purpose of the event is to raise awareness. There were plenty of activities to choose from, like kayaking and fishing. A well-known children's singer and author, Jim Gill, traveled from Chicago to perform a nonstop selection of sing and dance-alongs.
We're just happy to have this large, wonderful crowd out here today, sharing our blessings that we grew up with the world.
This year, we thought about what Robbie would be today, and he would be 41 today with a wife and 2 small children, and he would be down here celebrating an event that's about music, and it's about family, and it's just about a gathering. It's about community.
Proceeds from today will go towards HUGS, a local organization that helps fight cancer, and the effort for a new Carthage Public Library. Washington, D.C. is